Hey everyone, welcome back to J plus K Retro Gaming Channel. This week we have another installment of our J plus K Retro Top 10 videos, where we each do a top 5 favorite, and this week's video is going to be top 10 favorite Saturday morning cartoons.
And now, these messages.
Saturday morning cartoons were a seminal event in 80s kids' lives.
Definitely. I was really excited to wake up Saturday morning.
Run down to the TV.
And not have school, get into your pajamas, or you were in your pajamas.
Hopefully you weren't sleeping in your clothes and then changing into your pajamas.
Or getting into more like, I had like the super underoos and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. Fancy Saturday morning.
So I had the Superman ones and the Batman ones, getting into those and then watching cartoons.
I just roll out of bed.
But you also couldn't have Saturday morning cartoons without
breakfast cereal. Sugary breakfast cereals.
And that's going to be another one of our lists, to list our favorite cereals. But today we just have 2.
Our favorites.
And we're going to enjoy them while we do this list.
Yeah. So we have my favorites.
And my favorite when I was a kid was always anything with marshmallows in them. And Lucky Charms was my favorite.
Yeah.
It wasn't this fancy though.
Yeah, this did not exist in the 80s. Actually, they kept throughout the 90s and they kept adding more and more and more.
Yes,
I think back in the 80s it was only like 5 different marshmallows.
Yeah.
Yours is on the French side. We're in Canada. We have French on one side, English on the other. So the reason you couldn't get through Saturday morning cartoons without a sugary breakfast treat was because in between the commercials would run either toy commercials that had to do with the show that you were watching, or breakfast cereals, candy, or fast food.
Yes.
Hey, you gonna look at the water or brave the rapids?
Oh no, Tony.
We'll catch up after this complete breakfast, including my vitamin-packed Frosted Flakes. They bring out the tiger in you.
Good, you'll need it.
Frosted Flakes, good. They're good.
You'll show 'em you're a tiger. Show 'em what you can do.
Go, tiger.
The taste of Tony's Frosted Flakes
Man, she's good.
brings out the tiger in you.
And you.
And since your parents were often still asleep, so
Yes.
this was like a different kind of day. This is the only thing you could make yourself for breakfast because kids can't work at stove.
It was a time where the marketing company could brainwash us kids.
Thanks, Reaganism.
And then we would tell our parents to get this for us.
Yeah.
And they would, because they wouldn't want to wake up to make us breakfast.
Well,
either.
actually, to tell the truth, I never actually had this one in the 80s. I was limited to Cheerios, cornflakes, and Rice Krispies because those were the healthy cereals. So my parents never let me have them. So.
Okay, so let's dish these out.
All right. It smells like diabetes.
So we got our cereal, which we're gonna try to go through this list as quick as possible so my cereal doesn't get soggy.
Yeah.
It's like a time limit. It's like with McDonald's fries. You want it soggy, but not too soggy.
But these are also coated with that stuff that's going to kill you. That means it stays crispy in milk.
So I'll start first with my number 5. And it's gonna be Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner Show.
It's cartoon gold for young and old. It's the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Show. Bugs is hot, but Coyote's not. And Roadrunners go, go, go. And they go beep, 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 boom. Mama, mama, Bugs.
So this cartoon, I believe, was earlier, right? It's from the 70s, possibly even 60s. I remember watching this actually not only on Saturdays, but also on weekdays as well.
I actually used to watch what's called the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show when I was watching it. And that was actually a Saturday evening thing. So it came on, I think, at like 5 o'clock.
So I have vivid memories of Bugs Bunny tormenting Elmer Fudd and the Roadrunner and the Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote.
And that had Sylvester and Tweety tormenting each other.
Yeah.
Why was it always like 2 guys tormenting?
That's what entertainment was back then. People being mean to each other. My number 5 is Alvin and the Chipmunks. started out as music. That was back in like all through the 60s. And then they started with the show in 1983. And it like catchy theme songs. That's what really gets me for 80s cartoons. So yeah, I love the singing along to CHIPMUMK, but I didn't realize what the letters were, so I thought it was just like CHIMUMK.
I remember Alvin the Chipmunks too. I watched that a lot. A lot of our...
We share.
Yeah. We could have doubled up, but we wanted to make our lists separate.
Yeah, so it's a top 10, so 5 and 5. We overlapped a lot, so we're like, no,
But
I'm using that.
I probably could have put Alvin and the Chipmunks. It would be high on my list as well. I remember watching it and feeling sorry for Theodore. I don't know, he would always have like the saddest storylines.
I don't even remember that. Weird. I always thought like Simon was like the smart nerdy one. Alvin was the one that always got in trouble. And Theodore was the front of the group. Like the little brother that everybody picked on.
So my number 4 is the Real Ghostbusters.
Not the Ghostbusters. That's a different show.
The Real Ghostbusters. I remember Slimer. He's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the comedic part of the movie. Sorry, the show. And I think he was their friend, wasn't he, on the show?
Yeah.
So
Actually,
he wasn't, like in the movies.
I never watched the movies when I was a kid. I only knew him from the cartoon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
In the cartoon, I think his character, he works with the Ghostbusters.
Slimer, I think, was voiced by Frank Welker, which is one of the guys that was like in every single...
Oh, is he the Garfield guy?
He is the one, Garfield, and one of the, I always get confused. Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are like in every single 80s cartoon, and they were Optimus Prime and Megatron. What's his name? Megatron. My number 4 is Inspector Gadget.
Could have made my list too.
Yeah.
We've been doing kind of sporadically Saturday morning cartoons lately.
Yeah.
So you have a playlist where we watch, and Inspector Gadget is one of the cartoons that has aged really well.
Yes.
I could watch it now, like with Brain and Penny. It's actually really
It's
well
entertaining.
thought out. Yes.
And it's
episodes.
actually good for adults as well, because a lot of these ones, like, you liked as a kid and you watch them as
They're
an adult,
terrible
you're like,
now.
this
You're like,
is-
well, I wonder why how we even watched it or
Yeah.
how it even aired.
Yeah, I like it.
We could do a top 10 worst. Okay, so my number 3 is the Flintstones.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're the modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba-dabba-doo time, a dabba-doo time, we'll have a gay old time.
So we had to actually look up to see which cartoons, because there's a little bit of overlap, are actually Saturday morning cartoons and which were weekday, after school cartoons, or even weekday mornings.
Yeah.
Because I used to watch Flintstones religiously when I went home for lunch during school weekdays.
Yeah.
And so I would watch the Flintstones, that half-an-hour episode, and I believe Teddy Ruxpin was on right after it, religiously, and then I'd walk back to school. But it is a Saturday morning cartoon, so I'm just going to throw it in there. It's the Flintstones.
Yeah. I watched that one a lot too. I should mention at some point during this video, I actually didn't have a TV for a lot of the 80s. My parents were kind of weird. and we'd have a TV for about 6 months and we'd get rid of it. You know, along the same lines as healthy breakfast cereals, I also thought TV would rush your mind, which a lot of 80s parents did. So, Flintstones is one that I got to watch, and I remember watching that early in the morning before preschool, actually. And that's another older show that they replayed in the 80s.
Yes.
Hanna-Barbera, which did a lot of our childhood cartoons. My number 3 is, I've mentioned this before, Transformers. We fought over this one for sure.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, robots in disguise. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
Now we say anybody can watch anything, and that's true, and that's always been true. But back in the 80s, it was things were targeted for boys and things were targeted for girls. And Transformers was a boys show, but I loved it.
Wasn't Transformers one of those cartoons where it wasn't a cartoon first? It was made because of the toys.
Yeah.
So they wanted to sell the toy line.
So it was basically a long
Commercial for the toys.
It worked.
Which it worked, yeah. Okay, so mine's getting kind of soggy.
Yeah.
That's okay. We are at number 2. We're almost there. So my number 2 is the Smurfs.
Sing a happy song. Smurf the whole day long.
Smurf along with me. Simple as can be.
Now you know that too. You'll be smurfing soon.
Might seem out of character, but you know, I guess Smurfs was everywhere. I had those little vinyl PVC figures.
Yeah, apparently worth a lot of money now.
Yeah, maybe. So I collected those a lot. And growing up, I was the youngest out of the siblings. So I had older...
Youngest of 4.
Yeah, so I kind of watched what my sisters kind of watched too, so maybe that's a little bit of influence.
Yeah.
But Smurfs is one of those ones that has also made it throughout the years, and we could watch it now. We have watched it now.
Yeah. My parents used to dress me and my brother up as Smurfs. So we had like these matching Smurf costumes, and they actually took us to the Sears Portrait Studio, and we got like this picture of me and my brother dressed as Smurfs with little Smurf dolls and everything.
One of my favorite albums as a kid was the Smurfs All-Star Show album.
He sings it all the time. Smurfs All-Star Show.
And unfortunately, I don't have the album anymore and haven't been able to find it, but you downloaded it for me a few years ago, and it was hard to find.
Yeah, it's actually on YouTube, I believe. So
is it still?
Yeah, you can find it. He used to sing this song all the time. I didn't have this album. I had a different Smurfs album, but he always sang this song to me, and the lyrics he was saying was "blow in a bag," and I was like, that can't be right.
Because they're talking about things that are fun to do in the summertime, and one of the things is blowing a bag. I'm like, I don't know, like I was a kid, maybe I learned it wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
And then when she downloaded it,
that's what they said.
Blowing a bag.
Yep.
Play with me down by the sea. We'll have a good time. We can play catch or have a match, but in the sunshine. We can play tag or blow in a bag. I've got a new kite. Play hide and seek. Don't you dare peek. We can play all night.
It's hilarious.
Kids, you should try that nowadays. Put your iPhone down and blow in a bag.
It's real fun to do in the summertime. So my number 2 is Garfield and Friends.
Ah, one of my favorites.
Yep. Again, Frank Welker.
Friends are there
to help you get started, to give you a push on your way.
Friends
friends are there
to turn you around, get your feet on the ground for a brand new day.
to pick you up when you're down.
Help you swallow your pride when something inside's got to break on through to the other side.
Friends are there when you need them. They're even there when you don't.
For a walk in the park, or a shot in the dark, friends are there.
I don't care.
But friends will care for you.
So if someone wants you to change the channel, kids, just say no.
I liked him a lot. He's another one. I think the cartoon was made based on like a comic strip.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
I think the comic strip and the book.
Yeah,
the
and
books
there's
of comics came
little
out. Maybe
stuffies everywhere with like these little
Yeah,
suction cups.
and you put them on.
Put them on your back window in your car. Everywhere. Everyone had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love lasagna. I hate Mondays. And even the Friends part. So the what's that part called? The chicken.
It's Funny Acres or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's like lanolin and
That was really
Oh.
funny too.
I remember the theme song more than anything else.
So we're down to our last two, our top picks. Number one and number one. My number one is G.I. Joe.
Unsurprising.
G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. It's G.I. Joe against Cobra and Destro, fighting to save the day. He never gives up, he's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe.
Probably wouldn't make your list.
No, actually, I've never seen this episode. We did not fight over this one.
I was a big, huge G.I. Joe fan. So I had all the figures, and I think that came up in my toy.
Yep.
We have a toy video, top 5 toys, so maybe I'll link it somewhere around here or there.
There.
And so we had G.I. Joe everything. I'm pretty sure I had G.I. Joe underwear too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not
the
surprised.
figures, and was this one of those ones where Hasbro made the cartoon because they wanted to sell the figures? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
Actually,
I had the comics.
fun little tidbit. G.I. Joe was made to rival Barbie because girls had Barbies and they wanted to make a boy doll,
Right.
but they didn't want to call it a doll, so that's how
Started as that.
action figure was born.
Well, it started as the big doll, which I didn't
Yeah.
collect, but I collected the small
Yeah.
4.5 inch or 4 3/4.
3 3/4. Yeah. We mentioned all this in the last video.
I'm thinking of maybe having a G.I. Joe marathon where I actually watch the old cartoons, because I don't remember much at all about any of the specific episodes. I do about the movie, the animated movie I know really well, because I was older, and the comics I know really well. And I'm thinking about going back and reading all the comics.
Yeah.
But maybe you can put that together. The G.I. Joe.
I'm roped into that.
Okay, so now you're number one.
All right, my number one is Muppet Babies.
Ah, Muppet Babies.
Yes.
When your room looks kind of weird and you wish that you weren't there.
Just close your eyes and make believe, and you can be anywhere.
Is everything all right in here?
Yes, Nanny.
I loved Muppet Babies, and this is when I actually have like tangible memories of sitting in front of the TV Saturday mornings, like, you know, when you lie down on the carpet, when back when carpet used to be soft, with your hands in your chin, like kicking your legs behind you and like singing along to the theme song.
Yeah.
That's another show that has aged really well too.
Yeah.
It's
They used music
funny.
a lot.
Yeah, and my favorite part of the show is it was an animated show, but they'd cut to live
I didn't remember that until we
bits
watched.
of like real footage of like old movies or
Yeah.
whatever. Very first episode, Star Wars.
Huh.
Loved it. I was just like, oh, it's Star Wars.
I thought it was really good storytelling, really imaginative writing, how they would imagine something and then all of a sudden they would live it.
It's very creative.
But then at the end of that whole thing, they'd be like, instead of riding in a spaceship, they'd be riding on their tricycle.
A little box with like...
Or like the laundry basket.
Yeah.
Which we all did as kids too, because that's how we did.
Yeah, that's how we played back in the old days, kids. We used our imagination.
So that show was all about that. Them imagining things and playing with each other. So it's really cool.
Nanny. I mean, she'd be locked up now for negligence. She would just like throw these kids into this playroom and then walk away, but then really that's kind of what our parents did too. We were on our own.
And that's when to grow on.
I actually have an honorable mention.
Okay.
Is that alright?
Yep.
I wanted to bring up Gummy Bears. I did watch that show.
I didn't.
But I don't actually remember any of the episodes, any of the characters, anything. All I remember is greatest theme song ever. Hands down, Fight Me. I love that show. Gummy Bears.
Gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere. High adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears.
Okay, we'll end with that note. Literally. Because the cereal is really soggy.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed our top 5s, so our top 10 lists of Saturday morning cartoons. Let us know in the comments what you guys think and what your cartoons were. It'll also be interesting to see people's lists based on region, so where they're from. Like if they're from the US, they might have a different list than us. So let us know in the comments what your favorite Saturday morning cartoons were and maybe your favorite cereal.
Look at the color of this milk. I'm just gonna put this down there.
So thank you all for watching. Thanks to everyone for all your support, and we'll see you next time on our next top 10 retro list.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
It's stuck to your lip. That's gross.
Outer?
They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Wait, what? Can't script it.
Why does everyone always laugh when I say that?